This week on the Powell Not Found Podcast, the Yankees advance to the ALDS after a hard-fought and up and down series against the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are out, the Yankees are in. Let's talk about the recap of the AL Wildcard Series. Here we go, on the show. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Powell Not Found Podcast, the episode 74 for the week of October 3rd, 2025. Of course, it's a big playoff week, and the sound that we were waiting to hear finally came true after a couple hard days facing elimination. The sound that we wanted to hear happened last night. Let's take a look.
Not that any team needs motivation, but they had a little extra coming into this season. As Yoshida will take second. This one is popped up. McMahon. And the Yankees have completed step one on their way back to a World Series.
The Yankees advance to the ALDS, where they'll face a first-place Toronto Blue Jays team, but not after one of the most exhilarating series that I can remember watching in a long time. The Yankees had been eliminated by the Red Sox in the ALDS in 2018, and also eliminated by a one-game wild card series that was shortly changed to the 3-game series that we're seeing today. And they'd been eliminated in 3 straight postseason appearances against the Red Sox. They had not won a postseason series against the Red Sox since 2003, which is infamous for the Aaron Boone home run. And I remember those games, watching them as a kid, 14 years old, and then watching the next subsequent series in 2004, 15 years old, during in Boston territory, very volatile games, very long games. I mean, this series was tough, but nothing was worse than watching those 2 series just because of how long those games would be. They would be 5 hours long. You'd be up until midnight watching the game. There's a lot of shots in those old series where you see the clock strike 12, and it just kept going and going. So, big win for the pitch clock for this series. But, man, these games clocked in around like 3 hours a piece, and it was just a grind to watch each one of the games because you saw some big successes from players that maybe we weren't expecting. We also saw the defense on both sides kind of fail, and decisions be made that didn't necessarily work out in real time. And the Yankees had their backs against the wall for most of the series, which is, if you're a fan of the Yankees, is not the most comfortable way to watch a playoff series. Like, every pitch, you hang on every single pitch. You question every single decision. And frankly, after game 1 of this wild card series, if someone told me that the Yankees were going to come storming back, I probably wouldn't believe it. You know, the Yankees didn't exactly have a great track record against the AL East this year. They, facing Toronto in the ALDS, I mean, they were 5-8 against the Toronto Blue Jays. It ended up becoming the factor of why they were a wild card team as opposed to a division winner, was their head-to-head record. And they didn't exactly shine against the Red Sox either until late in the season. So nothing about this series seemed like it was going to end up the way it ended up. But after a dominant performance by Cam Schlittler last night, I mean, 8 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, the first person in MLB history, in postseason history, in his first outing to get 12 strikeouts, 8 innings pitched. Pretty incredible. I mean, for his postseason debut. Also, just think about that one more time again. the first time ever that someone in their postseason debut notches 12 and 8 innings pitched. It's always weird when you start hearing those stats of like the first time ever this has happened. It's like, really? Baseball's been going on for 120 odd years or something like that. Also, in this series, highlighting another stat that has never happened. I mean, the Yankees loaded the bases in Game 1 and only needed to score 1-2 to tie, and they lost. And that was the first time that's ever happened in postseason history, which is hard to believe that someone loaded the bases with 0 outs and did not score and then lost the game. So, really different things happened. But let's go back to Game 3 here because that's the freshest in our mind. Just an electric performance by Cam Schlittler. I got to see his last start against Baltimore before the postseason in Baltimore, and he's a promising pitcher, right? It was a joy to actually see that Aaron Boone decided to go with him as opposed to going with Heel, because he seemed to show the most promise down the stretch, and it was hard to kind of judge because outside the gauntlet of those 12 games that came down the stretch against really formidable opponents, some of the starts, 2 of the starts were against teams that were, not as great, both being Baltimore. And so it's hard to judge whether he would be resilient enough in this postseason atmosphere to get the job done. And to be fair, both pitchers, Connolly Early, who pitched for the Red Sox, and Cam Schlittler both looked electric and both looked great. The composure looked really, really good for both pitchers, both rookies. Also, going back to that point of like things that have never happened before, there was a stat that ESPN put up, which was unbelievable. Where is it? Connolly Early right here. At 23 years and 182 days, Connolly Early was the youngest Red Sox pitcher to start a postseason game since 1916, since Babe Ruth. You don't get many of those types of stats where it's like, you got to go back to 110 years to see this kind of thing. But Cam Schlittler delivers 8 innings pitched, avoids a very shaky Yankee bullpen that we had seen elements of in Game 1 when Luke Weaver couldn't find the zone and he gave up the lead there. To go 8 innings in that kind of atmosphere it shows such promise, and also it kind of solidifies a rotation going into the ALDS that I think Yankee fans and the organization would probably be honest with you, didn't think that was that solid going in. Right now, you've got 4 starting pitchers that seem to be pretty healthy in Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, and Heel, if you need them, going into the postseason. And boy, did we see the pitching absolutely shine in this series. Offense-wise, we had the ball put in play. We've had, last night we had RBI singles from Volpe, RBI singles from Ahmed Rosario, who kind of basically it makes up for the Game 1 decision, where I think a lot of people were questioning why Ahmed Rosario was in the lineup. I was questioning why Ahmed Rosario was in the lineup. Why wasn't Jazz in that lineup? I mean, that's a big thing that we'll touch on later. But he makes up for that with an RBI single and gets the ball kind of rolling. And then as the Yankees put 2 more on the board there, it's 4-0. And it feels like a 1-0 lead. Like, I'm not sure if every fan base feels this way, but every single time the Yankees go up 4, it always feels like the Red Sox were like an inning away from, things going their way. And, look at like Yoshida, Bregman. They continue to be pains for the Yankees going forward, and they showed no different in this series. A spectacular defensive play by McMahon, also in the in the 8th inning. That's a play that immediately in my mind, shades of Jeter, jumping into the stands against the Red Sox into foul territory after he banged up his face and banged up his tooth, and he was taken out of the game. I haven't seen. Ryan McMahon has been defensively amazing this year. He makes things look very, very smooth at the hot corner, but the dedication and the just willingness to go all out in order to get one more out against a tough, grindy team just what felt like a momentum shift in this game. I mean, he was already riding the Yankees' way. It felt like, okay, now we're cooking with gas here. Going to game 2, Fernando Cruz's yell from the bullpen. Fernando Cruz doesn't exactly instill a lot of confidence in me just yet. He has very up and down performances. Sometimes he's lights out. Sometimes it's like can't find the zone. And after the Red Sox flew out to center field, which really looked like it was gone. It was like a grand slam with the bases loaded. I mean, Fernando Cruz yelling and screaming, almost like he's in a wrestling match, and he's looking like he's going to suplex or something like that. Coming off of the mound, again, felt like a momentum shift to the Yankees. And so, if you look back at the series, there are just these moments where I don't know if it's the Yankees having their backs against the wall that make them play a little bit with more focus. There's some great defensive plays. Volpe looked defensively amazing this series, which is not a sentence I feel like I uttered a lot during the season, especially when he had 19 errors to finish the season. Defensively, saved Jazz in this game with a bounce throw. He dragged his foot against the second base and completed a great double play in game 2. He just looked really good at on the bag. I also think he saved an errant throw from, I think it was Max Fried or Fernando Cruz. They almost airmailed it over his head, and he came back, tapped on the bag, and then also completed, I believe, a double play. I'm getting those stats mixed up. Also, too, got to give it to him at the plate. I mean, in game 1, which is an offensively anemic game for the Yankees, Volpe comes up with 2 hits, including a home run, the only run the Yankees score in game 1 against Garrett Crochet, one of the toughest lefties you can see. And again, that's where I'm saying that, like, if you looked at the matchup, going into the game, you didn't have a lot of, there wasn't a lot of confidence going into this game whether the Yankees were going to succeed. And after game 1, seeing the lineup decisions, not seeing Jazz in the lineup, not seeing Ben Rice in the lineup after hitting 2 home runs against the Orioles and having a really hot bat, the unwillingness to play left on left with a really tough lefty and playing the matchup game and having 2 players, Ahmed Rosario and Jose Caballero, that were in the lineup that weren't really represented that much during the season. I mean, Ahmed Rosario, I think, played 16 games with the Yankees. He had 4 hits after the deadline. Even though he has remarkable numbers against Crochet, which I believe he was 6 for 9, after game 1, I was depressed. I mean, I was feeling just in a daze about the team. Because I know that they're looking at these numbers and they're trying to put their best foot forward. But after game 1, I feel like it was blatantly ignoring playing the guys who got you there is probably the move, and playing the hot bat. It's, again, looking at the numbers and looking at past performance and saying, okay, we're just going to go with what works, as opposed to saying, maybe we should play the bat that's hitting dingers, finish the season with 27 home runs. I mean, Jazz had 30 home runs, 31 home runs, or something like that throughout the year. I mean, there was like 57 home runs on the bench for the Yankees, and because Garrett Crochet was so dominant and he handed the ball to Chapman, the Yankees didn't have a chance to even play some of their players because they didn't see a right-handed reliever until the second game, or a right-handed pitcher until the second game, and until Bayo started, right? So they didn't even really it felt like they planned game one on paper before they even really saw anything transpire. So that's why game three's lineup, even though it featured Ahmed Rosario, there was more of a balance. They had the hot bats in there. They had Ben Rice in there. They had Jazz Chisholm. The whole lineup went right, left, right, left, right, left. It was very, very balanced until there was a little tiny left-handed lane there on the bottom with Wells and Grisham. So again, it's like they live and learn, this team, as they try something different. It was just the fact that it was game one and this Wildcard Series. You go to one game, your season's on the line, which is probably a problem. There's the Wildcard game. The format feels still better than the one game elimination game, because when it was that format, it really did feel like a game 163. And it was too much on the line. If somebody went up big, well, the season was over by the third inning. I think MLB got exactly what they wanted. I mean, 3 out of the 4 series went to 3 games. Detroit advanced, LA advanced, the Cubs advanced, and the Yankees advanced. I believe Detroit, LA was just a 2-game series. They went up 2-0. But I believe Chicago won the first game, Detroit won the first game, and they came back to win the series. The Yankees, I keep seeing the stat differently each time. So I've seen it written that the Yankees are the first team to lose the first game and come back and win the 2 games. So there's a very, very, very low percentage of teams that lose the first game and come back and win the next 2. The Yankees did have home field advantage, which probably doesn't hurt in this case. I wonder if this series goes completely differently if they're playing at Fenway. You saw the Red Sox kind of test Judge, right? Judge's arm. I think it was Sogard who turned a single, a seeing-eyed single into a double just because it looked like they caught Grisham and Judge sleeping in game 2, or game 1, and they weren't afraid to kind of test it, and didn't look like his arm was very, very good. I mean, if this series is in Fenway Park, there's no way Judge is patrolling right field, right? It goes into the corner. I mean, Judge didn't look like he could make it to a lot of bases in Yankee Stadium, fielding it on one bounce. So we also saw some kind of humorous bits too in Game 3. Giancarlo Stanton hits a blast that I think off the bat I thought it was a home run. I think Giancarlo thought it was a home run, and he turned a home run trot into a hustle double. If you go back and look at the clip, he actually does. There's a oh crap moment when he realizes that he just pimped down the line a potential, potentially getting thrown out at second base. He had a really, really funny quote about that after everything was said and done. I don't know if I can get that back up again with Giancarlo Stanton's "Don't do this at home, kids." That's basically what he said. He was like, "Don't. It will never happen again. But kids, don't do what I did. But anybody who's opposing him, do what I did." But no harm, no foul there. Also, Giancarlo Stanton getting to second on a double. It's a miracle in general. So, just an exhausting series. Going back to the wild card format, when you're down that first game, it just feels like the season was too short, and you're playing for your livelihood there, and I think that's what the kind of tension that I think Major League Baseball wants. I think they want 3 out of the 4 series to go to 3 games so that they have an elimination game. But it does feel, there was a reporter that asked Boone, I think, towards the end of Game 2 or beginning of Game 2, whenever they had the press conferences, says it feels jarring. It's the first day of October and we're already looking at an elimination game, and your backs are already against the wall. And I hesitate to say that maybe it should be a 5-game series, because you're pushing the playoffs into hockey territory where everything is 7. There's a lot of games and a lot of travel. Because there's a lot of benefits to this series. There's no travel, right? You're sitting 3 games, one spot, right? You're not pausing the action at all. It's just game after game after game. And it gives punishment to the wild card teams. What I don't like about it right now is that there's still a division winner in this bracket, right? Because of the 2 byes that the schedule creates. So, like LA had a great season, right? So did Detroit. If they won, LA was LA won the division, right? Because the Phillies and the Brewers had better records. It seems a little bit like still punishment. There's no real reward for winning 3rd in your division. You're just like kind of a glorified wild card team at that point. And luckily, both division winners, both 3 seeds, did advance. But seems like something should be reworked there for winning the division. It just seems a little bit cruel to lump them in with the 4, 5, and 6 seeds here. I feel like it should probably be changed, and maybe that comes with expansion when they add more teams. But it's exhausting. I think that's the overall sentiment that I have coming out of this series, is that it was an exhausting watch. Watching Boston and the Yankees go at it again. First time in 22 years that the Yankees have won. That's a long time. And seeing them fall to their rivals. And it had the same energy. There were times back then, and I know I mentioned that in the beginning of the show, but there were times in the past where when you watched these series, especially in 2003 and 2004, the ALCS or the NLCS would be more exciting than the World Series. By the time you got to the top bracket, it felt like the excitement was over. Especially in 2004 when the Red Sox came roaring back. When they swept the Cardinals at 4-0, it just felt like the excitement and the energy was sucked out of the room. This is what this felt like. And like Jazz said last night after his press conference, this is only step 2. So, which is, it's just going to be a tough playoff series. But the Yankees end up heading to Toronto. The Toronto Blue Jays, again, the same record during the season. They ended up with both 94 wins apiece. But the Toronto Blue Jays will have home field advantage at the Rogers Center, and that starts tomorrow at 4:08 p.m. So, let's see what happens. I mean, who do you throw, right, if you're the Yankees? Do you do Max Fried with 3 days rest, knowing that you're going to get a little bit of extra rest here coming up? Or do you go to Heel, right? Is that the play that you have kind of like the trick up your sleeve so that game 2, 3, and 4 you're set up pretty brilliantly with Fried, Rodon, and Schlittler? And is that the benefit right now? Yankees rotation seems like it's pretty set up well for success. The Toronto Blue Jays did play them really, really well this year. I mean, last time they went to the Rogers Center, I don't think that they fared very well. But man, what seemed like a broken rotation in the middle of the year when Clark Schmidt went down and Garrett Cole was already lost for the season. It didn't seem like there was that the statement would be uttered that the Yankees rotation seems pretty set up for success here. Yeah, and you got to hope too that the offense for the Yankees continues to kind of go. I mean, Aaron Judge ends up being 4 for 11 with no walks and stuff like that, but just punching singles left and right. I think he got credit for a single for a defensive misplay from Duran in left field, and when it hit off of his glove, I think they gave him a single. Volpe showed up with the bat, also went 4 for 11, had 2 RBIs during the series. You got to hope this continues to kind of play over, and that the rest that the bye week creates for Toronto maybe takes them out of it a little bit. That was the big worry last year. Yankees were fortunate to get past the Royals, but it did feel like the Yankees for the first couple games were kind of like shaking off rust a little bit because they weren't in action. And this is the advantage that maybe goes to the Yankees. They've already played a tough series. They're already used to high intensity baseball. They've played their rivals, and now they're playing their other divisional rival this year, the Toronto Blue Jays, who seem more stacked than ever. And the Jays had a long respite off of the season now. So 4 days, 5 days off. And also coming off the heels of the Jays, had a 4-game winning streak going into the end of the season, but they also blew like a 7-game lead over the course of like a month and a half, right? Don't forget, the Blue Jays were also one of the teams, along with the Detroit Tigers, who were plummeting at the end of the end of the season, and who almost gave it up to the Cleveland Guardians, who did give it up to the Cleveland Guardians, but I should say. Sorry, let me mistake that before. Detroit did not win the division, Cleveland did. That's how fast you forget the what played out in the middle of the season. So yeah, the wildcard team did advance. Excuse me. Yeah, you got to hope that the Jays are a little bit shaky. They're well rested, and that's an advantage to them. But the Yankees have just played through some tough at bats, and also too, hopefully this experiment with this matchup experiment that we saw in Game 1 doesn't rear its head, right? I mean, Ben Rice plays Game 2 immediately, gets the Yankees off to a 2-0 start, right? That's why I think Jeff Passan even tweeted, that's why you played Ben Rice. Right, because it was clearly boom, off to the races. You also got to hope that playoff Giancarlo Stanton wakes up a little bit, and he had better swings as the series went on, and including obviously the fake home run. But you got to hope that he wakes up, right? Bellinger is proving to be every worth every single penny. Including a hustle double to kind of match that one of Soran that the Red Sox did with a bloop little hit in Game 2 and him stretching that single into a double. Just play the lineup that got you there. I think that's the key coming out of it. Play the lineup that got you there. And bring your head up a little bit from the iPad and realize who's swinging the hot bat. I think just put those guys in, and hopefully this series will be, hopefully 3-0, win it in New York. But I don't think. I think the Jays are going to put up a little bit more of a fight. So, in conclusion, because I know eventually you got to move on. This is just step one of a pretty long process to get to the World Series. The Yankees got to play their best baseball against the Jays. It's fitting that whoever wins this series gets a date with either the Tigers or the Mariners. You got to hope that MLB is probably open for a Yankees-Mariners ALCS, because the two MVP the two MVP nominees playing each other would be probably pretty sweet for the New York Yankees, for MLB. The way that the Yankees and the Dodgers was probably like a dream for ratings last year. Yankees got to play their best baseball, and the pitching has got to keep doing what you're doing. But the bullpen continues to be a problem. We saw very little of. Did we see Tim Hill get into a game? I think we did see Tim Hill get into a game. We got game 2, I believe he got in there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he recorded an out. We got looks at Fernando Cruz, Hill, Luke Weaver, and Devin Williams. Devin Williams looked better than he had pretty much all year. I think he led off his appearance with a walk, and then he ended up getting out of the inning pretty unscathed. But we haven't seen appearances from Doval, right? We haven't seen Blackburn. We haven't seen Leiter Jr., right? Where is the back half of this bullpen? And if and when are we going to see it deployed, right? Bednar ends up throwing 2.2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run with 4 strikeouts. Fernando Cruz, 1.2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, and 1 walk. They're clearly the stars. Luke Weaver didn't record an out, but 2 earned runs in game 1, and that's just not going to do it. Hopefully he rebounds, because he needs to be more of a factor. If they're going to keep running out the same 5 guys in this postseason, they're going to have to step up. I mean, that's very Joe Torre-like. God, does anybody remember the days Scott Proctor was run out for, I believe, 70 innings pitched? And just, it was like a one-man bullpen at that point. And Joe Torre just kept running him out. Right? If that's going to be the case with Luke Weaver and Bednar and Williams, right? We're going to need more support than just Fernando Cruz. It's going to have to be everybody else kind of filling in spots and filling in matchups and executing it. We're going to have Luke Weaver be the Luke Weaver from last year in order to see continued success in the postseason. Right? This isn't the 90s anymore when we can just rely on Mariano Rivera getting 12 outs for you at the end of the game. It's like, hey, Mo, throw some 60 pitches. We're going to also pitch you tomorrow. It's not that game anymore, right? It's putting together a puzzle every single night. And luckily Boone had some pretty stellar performances from his starting pitching, right? I think the Rodon ended up throwing the least amount of innings pitched at 6 this entire series. So Max Fried went 6.1, Rodon went 6, and obviously Cam Schlittler goes 8 innings pitched. Couldn't ask for anything more, especially from a guy who hasn't done that professionally in his career. Hadn't gotten over 10 double-digit strikeouts in his career. That's just amazing electric stuff from Cam Schlittler. So, what is the matchup here coming up tomorrow? Let's see. 4:08 at Toronto at the Rogers Center. And it should be electric. I mean, I don't know if anybody actually looked and checked out the last couple days of the season when Toronto was fighting for the division. I mean, the Rogers Center was loud. Sky Dome was rocking. So it's going to be Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman. He has a 0-2 career postseason. He has a 4.91 ERA. He is a righty, so I think you're probably going to see Ben Rice in at first base. You're going to see Wells behind the dish. You're going to see probably McMahon at third base. The one also other story to watch too is Belly did not look good coming off the field yesterday, limping a lot. So I know everyone's banged up this time of year, but that might be something to watch. You might see somebody else, but maybe for game 1 just to get him off his feet for a little bit. But that would be a really, really tough break for the lineup because Bellinger just makes things happen. He is not feast or famine, man. He just puts the ball in play where it needs to be. Kind of like before Rizzo was hurt, doing what Rizzo did for the 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 teams, just making things happen. Should be a good matchup. Kevin Gausman is 2-2 in the last 7 games, 2.98 ERA and 47 strikeouts. So we'll see. The Yankees still have not announced their starter for the game, TBD. But I would imagine Fried's gonna have 3 days rest, so you're probably gonna see Heel. I would imagine that's your matchup there. So I think that's it. So with that, I'm going to take the day off and potentially try to maybe judging how this series goes, right? The series is going to be Saturday, Sunday, off day, Monday, correct? Yeah, Saturday, Sunday. If necessary, this is going to stretch into October 10th. So we'll see how the series goes. We might do some impromptu podcasts just like because the series is a little bit longer and there's a little bit more time to react and it kind of lands a little bit better for the schedule for me. So we'll see. Good luck to the Yankees. They advance to the ALDS after Cam Schlittler just throws his freaking butt off on the mound. And an interesting story too. Grew up a Red Sox fan and wasn't going to let them win. So you can't ask for more as a Yankees fan in terms of dedication, in terms of growing fond of a guy that is probably going to be around the organization for a long, long time. Minnie Cole, if you will. So with that, the Yankees go into the ALDS, the division series for the second straight year in a row, hoping to have some hard fights against the Toronto Blue Jays. And with that, we'll close the show. Go ahead and subscribe to the show online. Go to our YouTube channel to see all the video versions of the podcast shorts that come out every single week along with the show. And we'll see you sometime next week to recap the ALDS with the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. So with that, go Yanks. See you next week.